Welcome to the Nerds and Friends podcast. Today we are joined by Ellie Martin-McKinsey to talk about her book Turtle A. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Ellie.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's jump right in. Tell us and the listeners what the book is about.
The book is about a girl who is very surrendered to the universe, so much so that she has like no concept of herself.
Uh,
So she sets motion, like events in motion for the universe, but she's got no self-identity. And she is called to Mays City, Illinois, where she meets a guy who is so grounded and angry and territorial and very self-aware, and it's just the complete opposite of her, and it's kind of
wow,
their repeated interactions with each other.
that's fascinating. Well, now I want to read it and figure out where they end up if they're such polar opposites.
It's you should. It's a fun time. It's a short read too. It's only like 94 pages.
Oh wow, that's cool. That sounds really fascinating. What kind of made you want to write a story about such different people interacting, like that duality?
There's a few things. It's so part of it was, I don't know if you've ever heard of Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency.
I
Um,
have. I
okay,
wish my co-host was here. He loves that comic.
it's so good. Okay, so there's the BBC did a show of
Right,
it.
with Brandon Routh, right?
Uh, Maybe it was
Or
Max
no?
Landis
Oh,
who,
Max Landon. Okay, yeah.
yeah, there was like a new one, or a recent remake, recent-ish, like 2018 or something.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, but recent-ish, and Elijah Wood was in it.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's right. I saw trailers for that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love that show dearly. And if you're familiar with the premise of Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, it's about this guy who kind of just he's a detective, but he doesn't search for clues or anything or like look for fingerprints. He just sort of stumbles into things, and if he fell into it, it's part of the case. And that's how he's holistic. The universe guides him to where, he needs to find things.
That's
So it's
cool.
kind of a little bit of that premise, and then also there, as far as like character conceptualization went, I started in theater, and
Nice.
there's an acting method called lucid body where you use like the chakra centers throughout the body to sort of create a physical character.
Interesting.
And so and it's like sort of looking at what happens when you like explode one chakra point or implode one chakra point. And
Wow.
so the girl was like the exploded crown chakra, which is
Okay.
the universal connection, but then she's cut off from like all of her like grounding chakras, and
Uh,
the guy is the opposite.
I see. To where he has all his grounded chakras, but then his universe one is suppressed and everything.
Explodes.
And
Yeah.
wow. Okay. That's fascinating. That's really cool. And I imagine with stage acting, I've studied like on camera film acting a little bit, but with
Yeah.
stage acting, I figure trying to align with your chakras and really have that kind of help your physicality on stage is really important, right?
Very much so. So like with the girl kind of physically in my head, what she was she's very like kind of pulled along by like the crown of her head, and she just sort of like floats by,
Wow.
she's like almost a non-entity. She's so like floaty. And then
Like ethereal and just going with the
yeah,
flow. And
and then the guy Nico, he is so grounded. It's in all of his physicality. He's a physical person. So he works as he's an exotic dancer, a professional dancer, and a Muay Thai teacher. Like all of
oh,
his
that's awesome.
professions are physical and rooted and grounded, and you need to be in the moment to like do them. So
Wow. That's so neat. That's awesome. Well, everyone listening, there in the description of the podcast, there'll be a link to your book because this sounds really really cool. And this is your first book, correct?
this is my first book. Yes.
That's so awesome. Like what was your process for going into writing your first book and like actually getting it done? Because I know so many people who are like, I have an idea for a book, but actually getting it done and getting it published. What was that journey like for you?
So it was weird because the this like doesn't happen, but I mean it did, I guess. So, but I started writing fan fiction, which is an entirely unrelated to the book. Like my fan fiction did not come into play with what got published. What it did though was that there was a startup digital publishing house, Saga Fiction. They're lovely. Follow them, read all their stuff. They're great. Saga Fiction was just starting, and they needed authors, and they were scouting on fan fiction.
Smart.
And so they hit me up because they liked, I guess, something I had written, and they were like, "Would you write a book for us?" And at the time, it had not even been in my head to even attempt writing a book, and I was like, "Okay, I guess if this is what's being asked, I guess I should do it." Because this is during COVID, and I didn't have anything better happening, so I
Yeah,
was like, "Why not?"
that's so cool.
And so, and at that time I was watching Dirk Gently, and I have this acting background, and then this very like universal kind of university moment happened, and I was like, all right, this feels like what I'm going to be writing, and that's how I wrote it.
That's fantastic. That's every author's dream, is to like be approached and be like, "Would you write a book?" As opposed to us going and saying, "Hi, I have this idea. Can I write it for you?" So
Yeah,
that's amazing. That's awesome.
it's really cool, and it's also a little scary because now I'm like, oh no, because if I want to keep doing this, I have no idea how to go about actually like sending my work to someone else, because it only ever came about through someone asking me. um, but yeah, so I wrote that for them, and as far as like breaking down and writing the book, I kind of got like a bare bones skeleton of what the plot was. I like tracked what the major plot points were going to happen,
Yeah,
and in my head I was like, all right, that's going to be one chapter. And it didn't
nice.
necessarily cleanly stay that way, but it
Yeah,
helped me to kind of divide and conquer as far as like how the book would go. And then I did,
yeah.
there were 15 plot points, so I was like, all right, 3 chapters a month because I'm not doing anything else.
That's a
And
great breakdown way to do it. That's awesome.
that's how that happened.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of outline in a similar way for my books, where, yeah, I'll write like a one paragraph, and then that'll be a chapter. And then as long as I kind of hit those objectives within there, usually it'll get there in a roundabout way.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
there were some fun things that like character interactions that I was like, oh, this is neat, but
Yeah.
as like that just happened while writing, but like it was so long as I get to these plot points, the story's gonna keep going and stay on track. So
That's awesome. That's so cool. Well, so you've mentioned that your very grounded male character is Nico. What's the name of your female lead who's
yep.
flowing with the universe? Or does she not have a name throughout the book? That would be fascinating too.
She doesn't have a name throughout the book. Her
Wow.
She is referred to for up until the last chapter as the girl, um,
Nice.
which was confusing at first for people because the girl would be capitalized, like the
Yeah.
T and the G, and they like proofreading wise. The first question I got like with advanced readers and was like they would be like, is this supposed to be capital? And I was like, read the next page, it'll yes.
That's cool.
It's a consistent mistake.
I like that theme though, because it's almost like how in some literature, when people are talking about like God or a higher power, they capitalize the way that they verbalize it. So it almost shows that she's like something more like connected to the universe than the average person in a way.
Well, it's like it's her only title that she's got because
Yeah.
other people's titles are their names, but for her, I mean, it's explained in the book. There is a name she hypothetically could go by, but it just never. She's so disconnected from it
Wow.
that she doesn't remember it. So it's always the girl, and she never has to refer to herself in anything other than first person. So it never occurs to her to need a name.
Wow. That's
Um,
You're breaking my brain. That's fascinating. That's
um,
so cool.
but yeah, but I really wrote a book where you have to read the entire book to find out the protagonist's name, and that has been a challenging complication that I didn't foresee when like talking about it promotionally, because I
Right.
want to call her her name because
Yeah.
she gets one by the end of the book, but I'm like, it's a spoiler. It's like the biggest spoiler.
Yeah. So you can't do it. No, that's
I
fascinating.
can't do it.
I got to read it now because I want to learn. But so is it told from her point of view, or is it kind of like a third person? I'm curious, or does it
It's
alternate?
it's close alternating third person between her and Nico.
Okay,
And then there's also very small random side characters that you get very brief like inserts of their opinion on what's happening, but for the most part
nice.
it's alternating her and Nico, and it's third person but kind of written in their voices.
That's cool.
So Nico, when it's Nico's third person narration, it sounds angrier.
Yeah,
um, and more like colloquial. And when it's the girl's third person narration, there's a bit more of like a disconnect and a bit more of like just observations of what's happening and less of like an
wow,
opinion.
that's really cool. Yeah, for my second book, I tried writing it where each chapter was a different character's point of view, and that was an interesting challenge too, where I tried to kind
Yeah,
of even outside of the dialogue and inner monologue to have just my way of
go from
describing
one to
things.
another. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's a fun exercise to do because you really have to almost like acting get into your character's
yeah.
mindset and the way they look at things, you know?
Yeah, it's really fun. The thing with mine is it's not every other chapter. It's just interwoven. So it'll
That's cool.
switch from one person's close third to the others. And it's a little bit jarring, but once you get used to it, it's
Yeah.
you pick up on it.
But it
But
sounds like the kind of book that keeps you on your toes as a reader, which I think is appealing to most readers, you know?
I would certainly hope so.
That's awesome. Well, so one question we like to ask authors on the podcast, I keep saying we because I'm used to having my co-host here. But one question I like to ask on the podcast is, if the main character of your book had to go on a road trip with the main character of the last show you watched or the last book you read, how would that go? And it sounds like it might be Dirk's Gently
Dirk
and the
Gently's
girl, and I feel like they'd get
holistic.
along pretty well, probably, right?
Oh, Dirk and the girl would get along great.
Yeah,
They would roll with each other so easily. It would be a little concerning, honestly. Like, those are two people that maybe you shouldn't have in the same space together because it would be chaos. Um, I mean, Dirk is more self aware than the girl is. He's
yeah,
got slightly more grasp on who he is and what's going on with himself
yeah.
um, than the girl does. If you put Nico and Dirk in the same space, Nico might punch him at some point. He'd get
Yeah.
really annoyed by Dirk. But yeah, Dirk Gently was not actually the last show I watched, though. What was the last show I watched? Um, God, it's like, oh, I think I watched The Flash like not that long ago.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I put it on as background noise to write.
Yeah.
How would she get along with the Flash? I think he would be so confused by her, genuinely, because she's so pseudosciency, but not quite
Yeah.
sciency, and he's. I mean, it's also pseudoscience because it's
The comic.
superhero
Yeah. Yeah.
superhero science, but technically he's like a forensic, uh, uh, what's it called, crime scene investigator.
Oh, yeah.
That's his job, and he's a superhero. I think he would be a little like, I don't know what, I feel like most people if they encounter the girl would not know how to handle her.
Yeah. They'd just be like,
She's so weird. She's so weird.
that's awesome. So that brings me to another question. If your book was to be adapted into a miniseries or a movie, who would you want to play the girl and who would you want to play Nico? Do you have anyone in your head, or would you want to have, some up and coming actors audition, and or do you have someone in mind?
I Okay, so I actually had been asked this question before, and I don't have anyone like big name in mind. I have a friend who I was on his podcast, and he was like, "Could I play Nico?" And I was like, "Actually, the more I talk to you, the more yes, I fully believe you could."
That's awesome.
But so I would say him maybe, but as far as the girl goes, I don't. She I when I wrote it, I didn't want either of them to be white. Um,
Nice.
so I wrote her to be. she's Korean American.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
and off the top of my head, which is sort of a failing on Hollywood's part, I don't know a lot of Asian American actresses, and the ones I can think of are generally in very like badass, like Charlie's Angels ass kicking type roles,
Yeah.
and that's not what the girl is. So the few I can think of off the top of my head wouldn't work as
Yeah.
her.
That makes
Um,
sense.
as far as like vibes go, if you want the perfect acting for the girl, it's Ivana Lynch or Evelyn Lynch. She played
Oh,
Luna
Luna
Lovegood.
Lovegood. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
which
That vibe. I like
like
it.
that was the voice I had in mind while writing her. Like, if you want to match a character, like do that with the girl's lines, you'll nail it. But she's supposed to be Korean American.
It there's one I just thought of when you mentioned that, the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once that came out recently. Have you seen that?
I have not seen it yet, but I've
It's
heard about it.
so Michelle Yeoh's daughter in that movie is played by an actress whose name is Stephanie Shu, I believe.
Hmm.
Um, I think she's Chinese American, but her performance in that movie is one of the best acting performances I've ever seen. And her character is the opposite of the girl you're describing. But I think with the range she showed in that movie that she could
That
probably
she could
play.
do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I never can recommend that movie enough. It's amazing. It's really,
Ooh,
really good. So yeah,
okay.
that's a really good movie. So
Are you big into like sci-fi? Is that like a favorite genre for
yeah,
you?
it's very much I mean it's a movie. I mean, just from the trailer, you can tell it's about like a multiversal adventure,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's one of the most heartfelt movies I've ever seen. Like I cried multiple times during it. It's so good, and it's the multiverse is kind of just like a way to put a plot forward about a family that's kind of fractured coming together, and it's really
Yeah.
beautiful. So, but I do love sci-fi also. I'm working on my first sci-fi written project right now, and that's been fun. So
That's awesome.
yeah, but I mostly write fantasy actually, so that's kind of my main
That is
genre. So
that is such an ordeal to write. Like I can't imagine writing pure fantasy. I think technically Turtle A is a magical realism, and I mean I'm clearly within the realms of fiction on like everything. But I can't imagine doing like the full world building for like fantasy.
uh, yeah, for me that's part of the fun. It's like I'll do the world building and then I'll do the outline and then I'll do the writing. So it's an extra step, but
Yeah.
it's a fun one. So that's a great segue into my next question.
Mhm.
What are your next goals as an author, as a career? I mean, you've got one awesome book that you had a publisher approach you and you cranked it out and it sounds amazing. So
Thank you.
where to from here now, you know?
So same publishers actually. I'm in the middle of a second book for them, which is
Nice.
it's not a sequel or anything, but it's in the works, and I'm actually really excited about that one. And real vague working premise is that it's about a girl with cartoonishly bad luck that's contagious to those in close physical proximity to her.
That's brilliant. I love that.
So there's that, which I'm in the middle of writing. I'm a little bit stuck on chapter 8, but we're getting through it. And then I also just started this side project, an anthology series on
Ooh.
life after death, under
Oh,
this idea of a choose your own adventure death. So when you die, you go exactly whatever happens next is what you think is going to happen to you. So
that's fascinating.
if you expect that you're going to heaven or hell, you're going to heaven or hell. If you expect that you're going to become a reaper, you're going to become a reaper. If you expect that you're going to become a guardian angel, you become a guardian angel. If you think you're going to get reincarnated, you get reincarnated, and so on.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so
I've got
I've got
goosebumps. I've never had like that's such a great concept of like I don't know how I've never thought of that. It's like, yeah, what if when you die, it's just whatever you expected
whatever you
happens?
want it to be. Yeah.
I love
So
that.
I've got I just finished the fourth short story in that uh, anthology series, and I've got I think three more or four more I want to do, and then I'm going to be sending that one off to the publishers as like a pitch at you and be like, hey, how about this one?
That's
um,
awesome.
yeah,
That's really cool.
thank you.
Well, yeah, I gotta say, like, I'm really excited about all the projects you've talked about, and after this, I'll definitely be buying a copy of your book because I want to read it now and hear about it. So,
Yay, thank
yeah,
you.
no, that's awesome. Like, you have really cool and like unconventional ideas, and it
Thank
sounds
you.
like the way you're approaching and exploring them is really unique. So, I think that's really cool. And
Thanks so much. That's really, really nice to hear.
yeah, no, that's awesome because we have a lot of authors on this podcast, and no, I mean that. Like, I'm really intrigued by the concepts you're talking about. Like, that's really neat.
Thank you so much. Wow. I mean 90% of my things are like very much character driven and dialogue heavy. And a lot of times it's like with a lot of the bad luck story came
Yeah.
about because I got this line in my head and it was the opening line and I was like, all right, I need to use this and I need to figure out how. And so I worked backwards from there. So the opening line, which I've tweeted about this several times, so I feel like this is fine to say. But it's the opening line is, I think I must have been a serial killer in a past life. And I was like, all right, who says that and why do they say that? And I mean,
Right.
there's a bunch of different routes you could go with that, but I went with this is someone who thinks karma is just out to get them.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I can't wait to read that when it's completed too. That sounds delightful.
I'm like so excited for that one to be done, but I'm also like so in the thick of it right now that it's
Yeah.
like it feels like it's so far off. I'm like
Act two is always the hardest for me also,
I like what happened was I'm stuck a bit right now. What happened was I hit a block where I realized I didn't plot something out as much as I needed to plot it out.
Uh,
And I don't know enough about the thing to like write about it easily, like to
uh,
improvise it. So it's like now I've got to do all of this research.
yeah.
And this is also happening when, I mean, COVID is still an issue, but you
Yeah.
know, the world opened back up. So I have work now that is
Yeah.
like a day job. And I was like, oh, and my friends and I are hanging out again. So it's like, oh, right, this is what it's like to try and write a book when you have like no time.
Yeah. Other obligations. Yeah.
When you have the rest of your life going on, yeah.
Yeah. What's kind of your style of research when you have to do stuff? I'm always fascinated by authors who have to research because for my fantasy books, my research is just me coming up with random stuff, and so
Right, which
where
sounds like so much more fun than doing research. I
what,
mean, it's a lot of Googling, a lot of Wikipedia, and
yeah,
then which is not a trusted resource, but
it's
a
a good
lot of
compass though
Googling
for what way to go,
for like, and I'll Google the most random things, you know, as you do when you're an author. Like
Yeah.
for Turtle A, it's set in a fictional city in Illinois, but
Yeah.
I was Googling, you know, how Chicago's public school system is labeled and how,
Oh,
you know, what the standard mode of transportation is in cities neighboring Chicago and stuff like that.
there
And
you go.
it, and that kind of, and it was like, all right, I don't need a like trusted, verified like answer on that. I just need an answer. Like,
Yeah.
um, for the one I'm kind of stuck on right now, there's been a lot of like, let me talk to family friends who are in the field that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Um, so it's been a lot of calls on the phone with like people who helped raise me, essentially being like, "Hi, want to tell me about your job practice?"
That's cool though. That's a fun way to like interact with family and also do something to advance your project.
Yeah, and they'll send me like articles that I'll read through and get ideas from, and
Oh,
I'm
nice.
hoping I'm waiting on one of them to give me another idea. Like I'm stuck on. Um,
That's cool.
yeah.
Well, while we have some more time, I wanted to ask you about like your acting experience because that's something fun to talk about too. Like what got you into stage acting, and I just wanted to hear a little more about that.
Yeah, so I was sort of I always wanted growing up, I think I always wanted to be an actor. I still want to be an actor. I'm
Yeah.
just very bad at like being comfortable with taking headshots and putting myself out there on that front.
Yeah.
Um, but I always wanted to be an actor. And there was a period of time where I wasn't sure about that. But what it was that anytime I went and saw a movie, whatever the movie was about, I wanted to be whatever was in the movie.
Mm,
And then I realized at a certain point I was like, oh no, that's not, I want to be a, astronaut and I want to be a veterinarian or a doctor. That's, I wanted to do what the people in the movie, like portraying those characters, were doing.
Yeah.
Um, I want to be able to do all of those things in like a way where I'm not in a high stakes situation.
Yeah.
um, and so I was like, I want to act. And then I did theater all through high school, but I also in high school started stage managing. And that's kind
Oh,
of where
nice.
the majority of my theater experience started to fall into, because I was very good at it. And they always need good, competent stage managers, and actors are everywhere. So I sort of fell into this kind of pigeonhole of always being a stage manager, but I
Yeah.
got to watch a lot of acting, and I would do a lot of reading in for people when they missed rehearsals and whatever.
Nice.
So and I took acting classes and improv classes.
Nice.
So I had some really minimal actual acting experience. It's more just that I was very much immersed in it.
Yeah.
Um, but I loved it. And in the classes, the feedback I would get when I would do scenes or monologues was genuinely very like positive. And I, I, I like my best friend. I helped them with their thesis project, and I stage managed it for them. But I also was acting in it, and that was really fun.
Nice.
Um, and that was sort of the last time I really got a chance to like solidly act. But it was it's always something I've loved doing, and I've loved the opportunity to do, and I've been very bad about putting myself out there to get around to doing. But it
It's
has
a hard
been
thing to do, getting
it's
out there as an actor.
really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. But the good thing that came about from it for sure is that I feel like actors have a really good grasp on dialogue, because
Yes.
when you have to say something and there's no way that you can make it sound good, like when there's a line that you say, you're like ooh, and you're like cringing the
Yes.
entire time you have to say it, and it's like no one speaks like this. um and I feel like that was helpful, kind of having that experience to then go into writing, because I could write dialogue that I was like, I can hear it, I can say it, I can hear other people saying it.
That's
I
huge.
have very clear voices that would say this.
That's
And
awesome.
that made, I think, a lot of the like best parts of my book are, dialogue interactions. And I think that's the acting really helped with that.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. That's really cool. So yeah, and that's great when you're stage managing and you can like give yourself small roles, so you can kind of do both parts. Like I've
Yeah,
produced two movies, and I've given myself small roles in both, which has been fun. So yeah, I do
right?
the
It's
same
really
thing.
fun.
Yeah,
Well,
little one-liners.
I'm super annoyed though, because at least with Turtle A, I didn't really write a part for myself.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
because in the back of your head, like, oh, if this got made a movie, like you want to be in it as the
Yeah.
person who wants to act, and I don't have a role that I could
Oh
be
no.
put in. But then I think I overcompensated, because in like the book I'm doing now, I'm like, there's at least three characters that you can cast me.
That's awesome. You gotta make up for it in the second one.
Yeah, yeah, no, I swung the pendulum way in the opposite direction.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, Ellie Martin-McKinsey, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Again, to everyone who's listened in, check out Turtle A. Sounds amazing. And we'll put a link to your Twitter handle in the description as well, so people can follow you and stay appraised of your coming works, which sound amazing too. Your anthology, then your current work in progress sounds amazing. So yeah, we'd love to have you back on the podcast another time. This was great.
Love to come back on. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you got to meet my co-host Carrie and talk about Dirk Gently's holistic detective agency,
Oh,
because
I would love to. I could talk
yes,
about it for days.
so can he. It'll be awesome. So we'll make that
That's
happen.
a fun
So,
time.
thank you so much for your time. This has been amazing.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. Thank you so much. It was like so nice for you to reach out.
Yeah, thanks so much. Well, this has been Nerds and Friends.
Follow Nerds